The little spiciness, and it's spicy, but at the same time like a little bit candy.
Yeah.
Comes from the Labrador tea, which is it's great. It's one of our customers who's actually now a friend, and he goes, up in the north every year.
Labrador is a bit of a travel from Montreal.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to All Beer Inside. I'm your not so humble host, Carp, and today we are in the Villeray borough of Montreal, and joining me today is Mireille from Brasserie EtOH.
Hi, Carp.
Hi, thank you very much for speaking with us about your microbrasserie here in Villeray, and I look forward to learning all about your beer history and obviously the history of your location. To my understanding, you are owner and head brewer.
That's right.
That's awesome. It's very rare to see a woman in beer, so that's even better to
There's a couple
finally.
of us.
There's not many though.
Yeah.
It's mostly guys who look like me.
Yeah.
So. And you brought me out some delicious looking beers here to try. What am I starting with?
Our Pilsner.
Okay.
Yep.
So we
Cheers.
do a toast.
We just changed our yeast for this one, so it's a bit different from the previous ones that we brewed in the past. But I'm pretty happy with the results. So it's nice and crisp and a good bitterness, which ask for more to drink a little bit more. Like it's refreshingly bitter, I would say.
Oh, super crisp. Totally see myself because I know you had a patio last summer. I don't know if it'll come back, but I could see myself sitting on the terrace. Having a bunch of these.
Definitely a great summer refreshing beer. Yeah.
Delicious beer. Fantastic. So what's the beer story? What's the creation of EtOH, your beer journey? Let me know what you want to tell me.
So we started the brewery in 2013. So it was a bunch of old friends from our childhood. It's me and my brother and at the time two other partners. Now there's three of us now. So it started basically my brother was living abroad and so was I. And when he came back here, he started brewing a lot in his basement with Guillaume, who used to be a partner. And so they developed like many recipes, all sorts of things, experimenting a lot. And I also had a little bit of experience brewing beer and a lot of interest, I would say. Like all of us, we always loved craft beer since we were probably not in the legal age of drinking. So following, at the time it was emerging, like there was Boreal, but also like Dieu du Ciel, and Cheval Blanc and all those great breweries. So we always loved, food and drink, made a lot of homemade everything. And so the project kind of evolved. It wasn't necessarily a microbrewery at first, but then it evolved as, a microbrewery. And I was also working abroad and I came back and the timing, like everything fell into place and took a lot of time to find like a good location, but we really found a great neighborhood location. So in the end, like everything was aligned for the brewery to start.
That's awesome. The neighborhood's very welcoming to have a new business.
Yeah, very. Like right at the start, the neighborhood has changed a lot, since we started. But no, it was great. They were very welcoming, and we have a great client. How do you say client base?
Yep.
Like from the neighborhood and from everywhere as well. But like really nice. Very diversified, all ages, a lot of women. Like it's really nice to see.
Yeah, you're not far from like the Plateau either, which is super popular here.
Yeah,
in
and
Montreal,
we're right next to the subway, to the metro station. So it's it's really great.
Yeah, this is kind of one of these perfect locations for myself who likes to beer venture, as I call it, where I could start here and then work my way towards downtown.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a lot of places that open in neighborhoods. Like as before, it was mostly the big commercial areas, but now you see a lot of little places in every neighborhood, so it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Brasserie EtOH, where does that name come from? What? Why EtOH? Why not Brasserie Villeray or anything like that?
Yeah, so EtOH it's like the short for ethanol, which is the alcohol that's in beer and in wine and spirits. So I don't know. The name just stuck. We thought it sounded good, like a short, catchy name, and with a bit of a science twist to it. Like I have a science background, so we just liked the name. It sounded good and easy to say.
Do you have a bachelor's, master's, or
I have a PhD.
Okay. So you are actually another person we're speaking to who has a PhD who owns a brewery.
Yeah. And
it's
research.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I did my PhD in science beer.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's a lot of how do you say, transversal knowledge. Like I was in biology, so there's a lot of techniques that I learned in the lab that are helpful now when brewing or when propagating yeast and things like that. I use a lot of things that I learned from my years in the research. So,
well, I mean, especially yeast. When you think about it, it's just a little thing that eats sugar to create ferret out alcohol.
So beer is basically a big culture broth for yeast, but it's a delicious one.
That's great. So you're obviously one of the more. When you think about it now, you're one of the more old school locations here in Montreal. Before the big boom of craft beer, was there a lot of problems creating the brands? Obviously, with Quebec, Ontario, anywhere in Canada, a lot of permits, a lot of difficulties like creating EtOH, or was it kind of surprisingly streamlined?
You have to be motivated. At the time, you had to be. Yeah, of course, there's a lot of regulations. This was not a bar before. There was not an alcohol permit on this location. So they're pretty strict. Well, at the time they were, at least, with the distance you have to maintain between bars and things like that. So of course there were a lot of my brother really, like, he's good with like these regulations, and he did a really good job with that.
When it comes to the food, do you have a food and beer pairing you suggest to customers, or?
Not at the moment. We used to have like a cheese and beer platter, and I'm sure we're going to bring this back soon. Maybe with the reopening post-pandemic, we've been like going maybe to really the point because the staff is like everywhere else a little bit difficult to come by.
So when it comes to the naming of your beers, you stuck with pretty much like, here's a Pilsner, here's this. Why no weird names like some places come up with?
Well, sometimes we do come up with a name. That's a good question. Maybe we just like it simple, or maybe we're not very good at or our puns are a little sometimes not so. I don't know. So.
No, it's simple. It's I know what I'm drinking. It's not, it's some weird name, and I'm like, okay, is it a IPA or is it a Pilsner? I have no idea. So sometimes simplicity is key, especially in this industry where everything is complicated in the brew house and running the business. Just keep things simple up front.
Right. Yeah, it says what it says. But sometimes we do come up with names, so it depends. If we have an inspiration, we're not, we do.
Awesome. What's beer number 2 I'm trying?
It's our New England IPA.
Smells beautiful.
Yeah.
Toast.
Cheers.
Oh, love that nose.
So this is our newer version. Like we used to have another version, so we decided to like go back to the writing board, and so this is our newer version, like a more fruity and a little bit like on this case it's a bit more bitter than I would have liked, but the next one will be we're continuously tweaking it. So nice and fruity and refreshing, but the bitterness I find like increase the drinkability. So I kind of like it a little too bitter for the style, but we're gonna tweak it a bit.
I mean, super tasty. This is exactly the type of beer I like right now. Is the New England's, the juicier ones. The bitterness isn't overpowering anyway, and it's not like oh god, it's too bitter. It's like at that right level for somebody like me. Obviously, that's not for everybody, but this for me is a fantastic beer. You do mention like rewriting kind of the hop profile and everything each time. Mario at Castleman Brewery in Castle, Quebec, Ontario, excuse me. He's just, here's the new brewery, here's the hop profile, and so that's all you have to do is, here's our New England, here's the new hop profile, here's our New England, here's the new hop profile. You don't really have to make it extreme in any way, just we'll add Chinook instead of Vic Secret. And so it's so simple to do in my brain, but I know how complicated it is back there to actually create a beer, getting the water right, getting, you know, your malt build and your hop profile. And to me, it's just somebody like me, I'm a customer. I'm probably always going to be a customer unless I'm an owner and I hire a brewer, because I can't do anything like that. So, to me, you know, science is very difficult, and that is
it's
science and art together. So
yeah, well, it's like everything. You get the hang of it, and it's the more you do it, the more you have a good idea beforehand of how the beer is gonna come out, and then you can always the nice thing with a small brew pub like ours is that. It's easier maybe to tweak it and change the profile in time. We don't necessarily have to have always the same profile in the can because it's commercialized that way. So.
As I mentioned, science and art, and using the men's room earlier, there's a lot of cartoons on the walls. Who decided let's give people something to read when they're going to the bathroom?
I to be honest, I don't remember who had that idea. It must have been one of the guys, and so we decided we have 4 bathrooms, and we decided to have a different things on the wall. Yeah. So you have one is Sudoku, one is black and white cartoons, one is color cartoons, and one is a book, like you can read from page 1 to page not the last page because we didn't have a big enough wall, but so each page is we had to buy 2 copies of the book so that we can put each page on the wall.
Oh, that's great.
And it's funny because it's a book called Le Parfum, which is a book about a lot of descriptions of smells. So
that's amazing. I love that stuff. I mean, just the creativity. There's a pub in Griffintown where it's a chalkboard in the bathroom, and they leave chalk there if you want to write stuff.
That's so cool.
The creativity from because every brewery is the same but completely different at the same time, and the creativity from one place to another. I think it's Pit Caribou. They just have a coffin of all their old beers in the men's room, and it's every place has something unique that will catch my eye. That I'm like, this place is awesome. The beer's fantastic. I unfortunately haven't had a chance to eat here yet, but I will at some point when your menu's up and running again. And it's just the creativity automatically draws me, where the arts and the science always put together create a wonderful product like this. You're clearly a very sociable host too, so I'm sure your customers are like, yeah, Mireille, I want to see Mireille again. I want to come back to here. And I'm sure your locals must love this place.
Oh, we have a great locals. I'm not on the floor as much as I would like, but can be in the brewery and on the side of the customers all the time. So
I'm sure some of your bar backs and your waitresses and waiters and stuff, they're super friendly with the staff.
Yeah, of course, and it's really nice. It's like Villeray is kind of it's a bit of a village kind of a neighborhood. Like everyone knows everyone. It really feels like a little village, and a lot of our staff just live around here, and they just come and work here, and it's great.
So we're always talking about supporting local, and I do see you do have guest taps. You have Cidrerie Milton, Matera. What made you decide to have guest beers here?
It's mostly like when we first started, it was almost all guest beer. So we at the beginning we didn't have the brewery, so we started just as a microbrewery pub, and we would contract our beer, we'd go and brew and contract brewing elsewhere and come back. Maybe we had 4 of our beers, and then the rest was guest lines. And then when we got the brewing system, of course, slowly we increased the number of beers of our beers. But the idea is to keep it. It's always fun to be able to try a new beer or an old favorite, and have and also for our regulars, they have more diversity. If you come all the time, then it's nice once a week to have a change. Whereas for our batches, of course, the turnover is a bit slower. You have to, with a guest beer, you can buy just 1 keg. So it's nice for customers to try new things. For us as well, keeps it fun.
I'm noticing a lot of because you obviously have a hard alcohol component to it, and I'm noticing mostly Québécois.
Yeah, if you see like all of our products, the only exception that we make, and we have quite a nice selection too, but except for Scotch and whiskeys, our products are only from local, so only from Quebec. So when we first started, like in 2013, I think we had like 2 vodkas and 2 gins, something like that. And now we're like, it's impossible to have them all. Like, but from everything, even like amaretto and all these things, we try to buy like local. Yeah. Of course, we couldn't resist with the Scotch and whiskey. It's such a nice pairing with beer. So we had, but there's a few local ones now that are starting to come out. So
we're always about like support local, whether it be if you're in Quebec, you support Quebec. If you're in Ontario, you support Ontario. If you're in Plattsburgh, New York, support the local brewery there is buy local.
Yeah, as close as possible. Yeah. And it was from in our philosophy right from the beginning. Like our wine menu, we have a couple of wines that you can buy by the glass or by the bottle, but we've always had only local wines and local ciders and everything. It's important for us to encourage them. Because if we don't do it, like who's gonna, if people from around the area don't encourage the local business, then who will,
What's beer number 3 I'm having here?
We're having it's a double wheat beer with Labrador tea. So
Toast. Ooh, that's delightful.
The little
a little bit of coriander?
No, there's no, actually a little bit of coriander, actually, because it's a double wheat. But the little spiciness, and it's spicy, but at the same time like a little bit candy. Yeah. Comes from the Labrador tea, which is it's great. It's one of our customers who's actually now a friend, and he goes up in the north every year.
Labrador is a bit of a travel from Montreal.
Yeah, he's a fishing aficionado, and he goes and he has he handpicks the Labrador tea for us every year, and every year we make a different beer, and he's very, very he loves picking, and he has so yeah.
That's amazing. I'm starting to notice too, like Ontario near Quebec. I don't know too many in Quebec, but we're starting to get hop farms now too. And it's like I'm a broken record. I repeat it all the time. Support local. Unfortunately, with some yeast, you're not getting local. You have to go to Escarpment or whoever. But
now there's Le Labo in La Poquetière where you can buy yeast as well. We do as much as possible use local hops as well. And we even have like grain from Quebec, and so
you mentioned you originally home brewed. What was kind of those first couple of home beers, even if they were bad?
Well, it was like the usual. We started. I think my very first one was like a red beer or something, and then an IPA and things like that. The home brewers. Oftentimes it's a lot of IPAs, a lot of stout. The first ones weren't that great, but at first we the very first one was just like a kit, like everyone, and then we just made our little system and everything, and then tried pretty much brewing everything.
That's awesome. And what was EtOH's first beer?
Here?
Either here or I'm guessing since Brasserie is the big place. Did you start there?
No, we started. If I remember correctly, our first batch was at Brasseur du Monde.
Oh, okay.
I think it must have been either the blonde beer or the IP Blé, which is we do have it on the menu right now. It's a wheat IPA with lactose and a lot of srirachaise.
Wow.
So it's very creamy, a little bit richer than West Coast IPA.
That's odd because lactose has only really been a big thing the last 3 years or so.
I know, it was one of those things the guys developed in their basement. They wanted to do a stout beer, but a white one, and so they basically it turned out to be more bitter as well. It turned out to be an IPA, but the basis was to imagine what a white stout would be. And yeah, that's what became out.
Very cool. I don't think I've ever had that. I might have to try it after the show. So. That's awesome. So I'd like to ask collabs you've done, whether even if it's just we grabbed coffee from the coffee place down the street to create a stout, or we've collabed in creating beers. What are some collabs you've done? And then what are some collabs you'd love to do?
Oh, well, we've done a couple of collabs with speaking of local, encouraging local businesses. We did, there's like a little chocolate factory like a couple of blocks away. They do bean to bar chocolate. So they do everything on site, and the chocolate is just amazing. And we, twice we did with them, like they have leftovers from the bean, the chocolate bean, the cocoa bean. So the shell, the outside shell, has a lot. You can make like a tea with it. It tastes like chocolate. So we made beer with that, which so it's a dark, it's a 2 penny with cacao shells and a little bit of vanilla. So it's a dessert beer, but it's low in alcohol. So it's nice and easily drinkable. So it's called Havana because the shop is called Havana.
Cool.
We also did with we get our bread from Le Pain dans les Voiles, which is a little bakery on the Castelnau, and so they kept their bread that they don't sell, you know. So they kept how do you call it, seigle in English? It's
seigle is rye.
Rye, yeah. So their rye bread is really dark, so they just dried it every day and kept it for us, and we made a beer.
That's
with
awesome.
and we called it Villeray, so it's because it's a rye, and that's a pun with the name of the neighborhood. Also did a collaboration with many years ago with Espace Public, which turned out to be a classic beer. Now we rebrew it every summer. It's a goza with passion fruit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's really nice and refreshing. So every summer our customers are waiting for that beer to come out. So.
Yeah, that caught us just before the pandemic started. We were in Orleans, and they're like, "Oh, here's this pomegranate IPA." I'm like, "There's no pomegranate milkshake IPA." I'm like, "There's no way that works." Oh my god, this is delicious.
Pomegranate milkshake IPA. Oh, that's a great idea.
And it was brewed for Women's International Day too.
Oh,
and it was a woman brewer like yourself who did it. So it's like that's I love seeing that kind of stuff. I love seeing the support beers that breweries made when all together. Black is Beautiful. Now the Aaron Broadfoot out of Little Beast, Brave Noise. I love seeing, like, it's not really a collab. It's just you're grabbing their recipe and you're naming it whatever, and you're giving a portion of the sales to a charity, and that's super important when it comes. It's a community in the end.
We do that too, actually, with every year. Now with the pandemic, they didn't do it, but there's a group here in the neighborhood. They work for. It's called it's to fight against hunger. You know, like sécurité alimentaire. So
it's almost like Old Brewery Mission in a sense, like getting food.
Yeah, they have all sort of programs to help families make sure like no one's hungry and everything. So every year they have a show which is called the Show de la Faim, so the hunger show, something like that. And so every year we make a beer for them, and we give part of the profit to them, and go to the show and serve that beer at the intermission of the show. So it's important for us to be involved in the neighborhood, and like things like that are great. So
awesome. Any dream collabs? Any we haven't brewed with, let's say, Masorum or Mutsuid or Melon, like one of those guys. Could you see yourself doing like a collab with somebody else local?
Oh, well, a lot of them, would be nice. Maybe going back to our roots, like where our love for craft beer started. For me, at least, is Dieu du Ciel. When I was a student, I was following what they were doing closely. So that would be like a really nice collab to do.
So one thing I love to ask is, you get a macro drinker, you get, I only drink Budweiser. That person comes in. What's that gateway beer that you get them?
I would say probably the blonde beer, or maybe the Pilsner, but maybe it would be a bit on the bitter side. So yeah, the blonde beer is actually very, one of our big sellers. So we try to make it as as refreshing as possible, but still with a lot of taste. So we didn't try to tone it down too much. Like we're not trying to. Yeah, we didn't, try to make something extra light or which would be nice maybe for the summertime as one of the lines. But yeah, so probably the blonde beer would be closest to what like a Budweiser fan would want, but still different.
Yeah. Another thing I like to ask is, as I mentioned, support local. Somebody comes here, tries a bunch of your beers. Any friends in the area that you say, go on to down the street to these guys, up the street, down there, that way, whatever. Like east, west, north, south, who do you suggest for them to also try?
Yeah, there's a lot of, like we were saying before, there's a lot of nice places that open, in small neighborhoods. So very close to us, there's Aricana, we make great beer, and you have Ile-de-Garde also. So yeah, there's a lot of very nice places in Rosemont, like to discover.
Yeah, Bira as well, Bira/Silo now, so.
Yeah, Bira and now Silo also. So there's actually they're like popping up everywhere. So it's great.
Yeah. What's this last beer I'm going for?
Oh, we have the best bitter. So.
Ooh. Cheers.
Cheers.
Smells very malty.
Malty, but still
malty,
nice bitter.
Yeah.
Nice balance, biscuit, nice balance of hops, but not crazy or anything.
Yeah. It's not. No ingredients overpowering the other. It's very. It's amazingly balanced bitter. This is kind of my spring beer is when I'm going into the summer where I'm going to drink my crazy either drink something super crushable like a Pilsner or a blonde and then go to my IPA like New England IPAs during the day. This is like a spring beer for me that I could see myself like having a nice scotch and then something like this.
Yeah, that would be very good with a scotch, like not too peated, but yeah, it would be very nice with scotch.
Now, clearly you're very, very busy. I'm sure here and in your personal life as well, but when you finally have some time to travel again, going on a beer vacation, that you've never been to before. What's that beercation you'd love to take?
I never had a chance to go to Belgium, so definitely. But since everything is so close by over there, probably Belgium and England would be really nice to go. Yeah, but that would be a dream vacation. Yeah. A bit hard on the liver maybe, but especially if you go to England with the scotch and everything, and
no, it's just that entire kind of like Euro trip that you do. You start in Germany and either work your way whatever you want to go to the Czech or to Belgium.
When you think about it, you could go. You're making a great.
I mean, and everything now, especially from what I've seen right now, when it comes to flights and trains and everything in Europe, is it's so cheap. I don't know after the Canadian dollar to the euro or the British pound what it's like, but it seems more accessible because it's I guess so close. Whereas Canada, we're so big and so spread apart. It's a little harder to drive from St. John's to Vancouver.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas
the U.S. would be a nice trip too, but again, it's a bit more territory to cover, and in Europe you could really go, like you said, from one country. They all have great brewing history and tradition. So that would be really nice.
Kind of obviously with stuff really reopening, what's next for EtOH?
Well, with the pandemic we started bottling, so we're looking into expanding that a little bit. The laws have changed for brew pubs like us, so has challenges because we're limited in space and things like that, but we're looking into that. That would be like a really nice
local beer stores as well.
addition.
Let's say Malte Hops in Verdun and Peluso, obviously. Hopefully I get to see on shelves there soon. So that'd be great. Awesome. This has been a fantastic talk. I really appreciate you taking time in your schedule to speak with us about your fantastic brasserie here. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so we're EtOH Brasserie in Villeray in Montreal, so Metro Jarry, and you can find us on social media on Facebook.
As for us, allbeerinside.com is the website, @allbeerinside on all social media, and as you say at the end of all episodes, drink craft, not crap.